My name is Ethan Calloway, and I never imagined that one corporate dinner would change the way I saw my marriage, my wife's workplace, and the people she surrounded herself with. The night everything happened began quietly, almost too quietly, as if the universe was holding its breath. I remember adjusting my tie in the hallway mirror, wondering why I felt so strangely tense about an event I had attended many times before. As I slipped on my charcoal suit jacket, I heard a knock on the bedroom door. It was Lucas Romero, my closest friend, who had stopped by to return a tool he'd borrowed earlier in the week. He stepped inside, leaned against the doorway, and crossed his arms. "You ready for tonight?" Lucas asked, his voice carrying an odd note of expectation. "Ready as I'll ever be," I said, trying to sound light. He studied my expression like he knew something I didn't. "Just keep your eyes open, Ethan. People reveal more in those corporate events than they do at work." I laughed it off at the time, brushing aside his tone. "It's just dinner." Lucas shook his head. "Nothing is ever just anything when it comes to corporate culture, and especially not when your wife works in a place like hers." I frowned but didn't press further. He left soon after, and I continued getting ready. Still, Lucas's words stuck with me, lingering in the back of my mind like a subtle warning. My wife, Madeline, stepped out of the bathroom, adjusting the strap of her elegant navy blue dress. The dress hugged her slender frame, and her wavy blonde hair curled delicately over her shoulders. She looked stunning, the kind of beauty that turned heads effortlessly. "You look incredible," I told her, stepping forward to help clasp her necklace. She smiled gently, but something in her gaze felt distant, distracted. "Thank you. We should leave soon. I don't want to be late." I noticed she didn't ask how I looked, which was unusual for her. But we were both stressed these days, her with work, me with a heavy construction project I've been managing. I brushed it off. The drive to the hotel was quiet, save for the GPS giving directions and the occasional sound of cars passing. Madeline drummed her fingers on her knee, glancing out the window, lost in thought. "You okay?" I finally asked. "HM? Yeah, just thinking about the presentation earlier." She forced a smile. "Tonight should be fun." I didn't say anything else. If she wanted to talk, she would. Or so I thought. When we arrived at the hotel ballroom, the soft glow of chandeliers and the buzz of mingling employees filled the air. People dressed in crisp formal wear moved around high tables, holding champagne flutes and laughing in tight professional circles. Almost immediately, a group of Madeline's coworkers rushed toward her. "Madeline, over here," called Sophie Bennett, her closest friend at work. Beside Sophie stood Caroline Brooks, a senior analyst, Aaron Mills, who worked in finance, and a man I knew only in passing but whose name I had heard far too often over the past few months, Daniel Hartman. Tall, athletic, annoyingly handsome in that effortless way. Daniel flashed a bright grin as we approached. "There she is," he said, voice smooth as polished glass. "Our star of the quarter." Madeline blushed lightly. "Please, Daniel, you're exaggerating." "Am I?" He winked. "We'd have collapsed without you." I extended my hand. "Good to see you all." Daniel shook my hand with a grip firmer than necessary, his eyes lingering on me a half-second too long, like he was sizing me up. As the group chatted, I mostly listened, occasionally answering polite questions. But then I noticed the small glances, the smile shared between Madeline and Daniel, the subtle leaning in, the lingering eye contact. At first, I told myself it was innocent. Workplace camaraderie, comfort, familiarity. But my instincts whispered something else. The evening rolled on, and I found myself drifting between tables, talking to people I vaguely recognized from previous years. Every now and then I glanced toward Madeline, who seemed almost glued to her coworkers, particularly Daniel. An hour later, dinner was served. We sat at a round table, and somehow, of course, Daniel ended up beside my wife while I sat across from them. The arrangement wasn't intentional, but it felt symbolic. Throughout the meal, conversation flowed. I engaged politely, though I couldn't ignore the tension under the table, the way Madeline's body angled subtly toward Daniel rather than toward me. At one point, Caroline made a joke about workplace chaos, and Daniel laughed, leaning close to Madeline. "She holds the whole team together." Without her, we're lost. It didn't sound like a joke. Then, during dessert, an unexpected moment broke the rhythm. Daniel leaned back, stretched slightly, looked straight at me, and said with a smirk, "So, Ethan, how does it feel?" The table fell silent. I raised an eyebrow. "How does what feel?" Before he could answer, Sophie lightly kicked him under the table. "Daniel, stop," she muttered. He only chuckled. The other co-workers exchanged glances, some awkward, some knowing, some almost entertained. Madeline's face drained of color. She opened her mouth as if to intervene, but no words came out. Something wasn't right. I leaned back slowly. "I'm afraid I don't follow." Daniel shrugged. "Don't worry about it. Just a joke." But it wasn't a joke. Not with the way he said it. Not with the looks exchanged around the table. And not with the way Madeline refused to meet my eyes. From that moment forward, the dinner felt different. The air felt heavier. The laughter seemed forced. When Daniel got up to refill his drink, Sophie leaned toward Madeline and whispered something urgently. Madeline whispered back, her hands trembling slightly. I saw it all, and I felt the truth clawing at the back of my mind. After dinner, people filtered toward the bar area. I excused myself to get some air, stepping out onto the balcony overlooking the city lights. The cool wind brushed against my face, helping clear my thoughts. I stood there alone, trying to suppress the sick feeling building in my stomach. Footsteps sounded behind me. I turned. It was Aaron Mills. He shifted uncomfortably before speaking. "Ethan, look, man. I'm not sure what you've heard or what you've noticed tonight. But He paused. "Actually, forget it," he muttered. "It's not my place. It's my wife," I said, voice calm but firm. "That makes it my place." Aaron swallowed hard. His shoulders slumped. "Talk to Madeline," he finally said. "Ask her everything. She owes you the truth." I stepped closer. "What kind of truth?" Aaron looked away, jaw tightening. I shouldn't be the one saying it. He walked off, leaving me alone with more questions than answers. When I returned inside, the group had shifted positions. Madeline stood near the bar, arms crossed, looking stressed. Daniel was beside her, too close for my comfort. I approached. "Ready to go?" I asked. Madeline startled, then nodded quickly. "Yes, let's leave." Daniel smirked again. "Leaving so soon?" "Big day tomorrow," I replied curtly. "Right," he said, raising his glass. "Take care, Ethan." There was something mocking in his tone. I ignored him. During the drive home, silence filled the car like fog, thick, suffocating. Madeline stared ahead, gripping her clutch tightly. I finally asked, "What did Daniel mean?" She hesitated. "Ethan, please not tonight." "That's not an answer." She closed her eyes, pained. "I'll explain tomorrow. I promise." "Explain what?" She didn't reply. We drove the rest of the way without another word. But the moment we stepped inside the house, everything changed. My phone buzzed. A message from Lucas, the friend who had warned me earlier. "Lucas, call me when you get home. It's important." I stared at the screen. The universe was no longer holding its breath. It was screaming. The moment Lucas's message lit up my phone, a faint tremor went through my chest. The house was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. Madeline placed her clutch on the console table, avoiding my eyes entirely. I didn't call Lucas right away. Instead, I turned toward her. "You said you'd explain tomorrow," I said quietly. "But after the way tonight went, we need to talk." Madeline didn't move for several seconds. Her shoulders rose with a long breath before she turned around. "Ethan, please, I'm exhausted." We argued enough in the car without actually saying anything. "Can't this wait?" "No," I said more firmly this time. "Because I think you're hiding something from me. Something big. And Daniel clearly knows about it." Her lips parted, then closed again. She sank onto the edge of the couch, brittle and fragile in a way I rarely saw. She pressed her palms to her forehead. "I didn't want tonight to become this," she whispered. "I was trying to avoid exactly this moment." "Which moment?" I stepped closer. "The one where I asked what's going on between you and Daniel." Her head snapped up, hurt, disbelief, and fear all tangled in her expression. But she didn't deny the implication. That scared me more than anything else had that night. "Ethan," she said softly, "it's complicated." Then uncomplicated. She didn't speak. For a long time, neither of us did. I finally exhaled heavily and walked into the kitchen, grabbing a glass of water just to steady myself. My hands trembled. I wasn't a man who got nervous easily, but the unknown had a way of shredding anyone's composure. My phone buzzed again. Lucas, I am awake. Call me now if you can. I walked to the far end of the kitchen, out of earshot, but I still glanced toward the living room where Madeline now sat hunched, elbows on her knees. I dialed Lucas. He answered on the first ring. Ethan, are you home? Yeah, I said. I'm home. Tell me what you know. There was a pause, a long one. I could hear him exhaling hard. Okay, he said, but you need to brace yourself. You remember I warned you earlier? I didn't say it lightly. Just tell me. I didn't want to bring this to you without proof, Lucas said. But I have it now. His voice was tight, almost pained. It's about your wife. About Madeline. And Daniel. My heart thudded. Say it. There's something going on between them, Lucas said finally. People at her company have been talking for months. The room spun slightly. Talking about what? I asked, forcing my voice to stay even. That they're too close, he said. That he's always around her. That they stay late alone. That he flirts with her even when everyone can see it. And that she doesn't shut it down. I felt the words strike like a physical blow. Lucas continued. Tonight, at the company dinner, that wasn't a coincidence. People expected something to happen. That comment he made, how does it feel? That wasn't provoking you, testing you, because everyone knows there's something simmering beneath the surface. My breath came shallow. Are you telling me she had an affair? I whispered. No, Lucas said immediately. I don't have evidence of that. But I'm telling you that people are talking. A lot. And none of the talk is good. Silence swelled between us. Ethan, Lucas said gently, you need to ask her. And she needs to answer. Fully. Honestly. I swallowed hard. Thanks, I finally managed. I appreciate you telling me. I'm here if you need me, Lucas said. Whatever happens. We hung up. I stood alone in the kitchen, staring at the tiled floor, trying to force my mind to process everything. I wasn't a jealous man. I wasn't insecure. But tonight, things had crossed a line I couldn't ignore. When I returned to the living room, Madeline looked up, her eyes hollow. Was that Lucas? She asked quietly. Yes. What did he say? That coworkers have been talking about you and Daniel for months. Her face fell. She whispered, oh God. I walked to the chair across from her, sitting deliberately. Madeline, I need the truth. All of it. Now. She nodded slowly, curls shaking around her face. You're right, she said softly. You deserve the truth. And I should have told you earlier. I was afraid of hurting you. What truth? She looked down at her hands. Daniel developed feelings for me. The air left my lungs. He told me months ago, she continued. I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. But it didn't. He kept trying. Compliments, messages staying late. He crossed boundaries, Ethan. And I didn't handle it the right way. I closed my eyes. Did you reciprocate? She shook her head instantly. No, I swear I never did. But I didn't shut it down hard enough. I didn't want drama at work. And I was afraid of you thinking the worst. You should have told me, I said. I know, she whispered. I was stupid. I paced slowly around the room. And tonight, I asked, what did that comment mean? How does it feel? She winced. He wanted to provoke you, she said. He wanted to see if you'd react. He wanted to see if I'd react. He's complicated. He makes everything about competition. And you coming tonight? Meeting you. He saw it as some kind of challenge. Did he ever touch you? I asked quietly. She hesitated. That hesitation cut deeper than any word. Madeline. He hugged me sometimes, she said. Nothing inappropriate. Just friendly. But I should have stopped that too. Did you ever meet him outside work? No, she said firmly. Never alone. Only group lunches. Only work settings. I studied her long and hard. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't dart. She looked like a woman drowning in guilt, but not deceit. Still, the weight between us was immense. Why didn't you tell me? I asked again. She wiped a tear. Because I didn't want to ruin our peace. You've been stressed with your projects. I didn't want to add to it. I thought I could handle it myself. And could you? Her voice cracked. No. We sat in silence again. Heavy, painful silence. Finally, I said, I need space for a moment. She nodded, devastated. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. I stepped into the backyard, with a cool night air wrapped around me like a bitter reminder of reality. My thoughts were a whirlwind. Anger, confusion, heartbreak, betrayal. Not from an affair, but from secrets. From lies of omission. From trust eroded quietly, gradually. After several minutes, I heard the sliding glass door open. But it wasn't Madeline. It was Lucas. He must have driven over. He approached me slowly. I figured you might need someone. Normally, I would have been annoyed at his sudden appearance. But right then, I needed clarity from someone who wasn't drowning in the emotional mess. She told me. I said softly, "Everything." Lucas nodded. "Is it as bad as we thought?" "Worse," I said. "Not because anything happened physically, but because she hid it. For months." Lucas exhaled. "Yeah, that's rough." We stood side by side. "You know," Lucas said after a moment, "Madeline's not the kind of woman who drifts. If she let things slide with Daniel, it's because she was overwhelmed. That guy's persistent, relentless. People like him push boundaries expecting others to fold. I trusted her, I murmured. You still can, Lucas said. But trust can't survive silence. So now it's up to you both to rebuild honestly, or let it fall apart." His words hung in the night air, sharp but true. Eventually, Madeline stepped outside slowly. "Ethan," she said timidly. Lucas squeezed my shoulder. "I'll give you two space." He slipped inside the house. Madeline approached cautiously, like she was approaching a cliff's edge. "I'm sorry," she said. "I should have told you. You deserve to know that he crossed the line. You deserve to know that I tried to distance myself, even if I didn't do it the right way. Do you want him?" I asked plainly. Her eyes widened with horror. "No. God, no. I want you. I married you." Everything I didn't say was because I was terrified of losing the one thing that matters to me. "That fear made you lose me anyway," I said, not harshly, but truthfully. She nodded miserably. "I know," she whispered, "but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to fix this. File a complaint. Transfer teams. Change departments. I don't care. I just want us." Her desperation was real, but so was my hurt. I reached for her hand. She looked startled, then relieved. "I need time," I said, "but I'm not giving up. Not yet." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I'll wait," she said, "as long as it takes." We returned inside together. Lucas quietly excused himself, giving us one last supportive nod before leaving. When the door closed, Madeline and I stood in the middle of the living room, broken but not shattered. I finally said, "Tomorrow, you tell HR everything, and you distance yourself from Daniel permanently." "Yes," she said immediately. "I will. And you tell me the moment anything feels wrong in the future." "I promise." We spent the rest of the night talking, really talking, for the first time in months. About fear, boundaries, mistakes, about what marriage means when life tries to pull two people apart. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a clean resolution, but it was real. And sometimes real is the only foundation worth rebuilding on. By the time dawn approached, Madeline lay asleep beside me, her hand resting lightly on my chest, as if afraid I might disappear if she let go. I stared at the ceiling until sunlight began slipping through the blinds. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of a harder, truer chapter, and I was ready to face it. If you enjoyed this story and want more dramatic fictional stories, emotional narratives, or relationship twists, make sure to request another title or theme. I'll create a full, detailed story for you. Your feedback helps shape the next one.